Les de Asis had a vision. And I think what he did was he was a large contributor to that, the ability of that evolutionary process to take place that I spoke about in making all of these custom knife makers able to make a living at making knives. And what that vision was he realized that the best designers, the best knife designers in the world were the custom knife makers. And I think Les was probably, if not the first, he was the biggest and best of the knife companies to join with the custom makers and get their designs, make them on a production basis, and bring these knife makers' names to the forefront. I benefited from it. Can't deny that. I mean, my exposure with Benchmade was huge. And Les did that with a whole bunch of different knife makers and basically made their careers. And a lot of them did the same thing I did. Eventually, they went on to have some of their own companies and have still are producing some of the best knives in the world. And of course, Benchmade is making great knives. I'll tell you a little story. When I went up there, they wanted to make the CQC6 knife. And I said, gosh, guys, it was Les and Roberta. I said, I can't do that. That's my flagship custom knife. But I have another design, which was the CQC7. And so they said, well, let us see it. And so they said, okay, we'll give it a try. And so what happened was, I said, look, here's the deal. I said, the knife has to sell for $150. And Les and Roberta looked at me and they said, Ernie, we can't sell a knife for $150. $99.99 maybe, but not $150. I said, well, guys, it's got to sell for $150. That's either that or we don't have a deal here. And they looked at each other, and Roberta her eyes got big, and Les said, well, I don't know. I said, look, I'll make a compromise, $149.99, but that's it. And then Les said, well, we'll give it a try.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And that actually kind of broke the ceiling for the expensive knife, if you will. And that ceiling has continued to climb because now with the advent of the mid-tech knives, which is a whole nother facet of the knife making industry now, highly machined, highly precise knives with like industrial hardware on them and all that. They're tough as nails, they're smooth as silk, they're sharp as a razor. Those kind of knives are out there right now, and a lot of those are going in that $300, $400, $500, $600 price range. Well, I think between Les and myself and what I did with my company is we broke that ceiling wide open and said, look, a guy will pay $1,000 for a gun and $19 for a knife to go with his gun. If he's going to pay $1,000 for a gun, he can afford, and I think that same customer would be willing to pay $200 for a knife. And I think that basically was a true statement. It was my philosophy, and it started our company going, and I think it probably had a big influence on a lot of the other knife makers and knife companies that are out there. So,
where do you see Emerson Knives in the next 10 years? What do you think is coming up for yourself?
Well, I'll tell you a story. I'm not getting younger, let's say that. I don't have any health problems or anything. I don't want to scare anybody, but what I did was I've seen what happens when a knife maker who is the main name of a knife company suddenly dies or passes away. And so what I've done is I've spent the last couple of years designing and prototyping and actually building dozens and dozens of knives. So that, let's say if I were to walk out of here today and get struck by a meteor and died, we've got enough knife designs to carry the Emerson name forward as Ernest Emerson designed knives for probably the next 10 years. So we've got that covered. If I'm not here, that company will still be here, and it'll still have Ernest Emerson designed good knives, not draw a knife, send it in, draw a knife, send it in. My knives are actually, they don't get built unless I'm sure that they are a legitimate, hard-working tool. And so we've got that. We are actually going to be stepping into the mid-tech market. I can't ignore it. I think we can still make a very strong knife that has the features that you would consider a mid-tech knife. We're starting to put our feet in the water with a knife called the Iron Dragon. We've got some things that are going to be, I guess, upgraded, if you will. different types of steels, because in that case, I'm still a 154 cm guy because I think it's a tried and true. It's kind of like Phil with the A2. If it ain't broke, why fix it? And so that steel is going to be the main steel that I use on my production knives. But on the mid-tech knives and all that, we're gonna play around. We're going to experiment with some different exotic steels and things like that, and bearing systems, flippers, all kinds of frame locks and different things. Some design work on the handles to spruce them up, I guess, if you will. And so we've got that going. We are going to be doing some balisong knives. Honestly, you'd think I know everything about knives as a knife maker and everything. I don't. I didn't realize that you can't import balisongs into the United States, so all balisongs have to be made in America. And I thought, oh, that's cool, because why not? I mean, balisongs were what brought me to the table. We're going to do some balisongs. They're going to be some cool ones too. So we've got that going on. I also have another thing that I've wanted to do, because frankly, so many good things have happened to me as a person and my family, that what I'm really concentrating on now as an individual is being able to give back some of the stuff that I can give back, the expertise that I might have. And so we're working. We have a project called the Guardian Shepherd. And we have if you don't mind me telling the website name and everything, it's called theguardianshepherd.com. We have a YouTube site called Ernest Emerson's Guardian Shepherd, and it's all about personal security, how to keep yourself, your loved ones safe, what happens to you in a violent confrontation, and all things like that. I've got a lot of seminars that I've done over the year that we're putting on there that are downloadable for free. We're putting a ton of work into it. We're going to have a lot of stuff that's available on there. I've got 4 books out now. I've got 3 more coming out later this year on the subjects that I've just described: personal security, how to survive in combat, how to survive violent confrontations, how to keep yourself safe, and all that. So that's kind of where I'm going personally. And the reason that I'm able to do that is because my family runs the knife business. I'm a knife designer, and I used to make all the decisions. Well, I take that back. I used to make some of the decisions. My wife actually makes most of the important decisions. I defer to her. She's the brains. I'm the government mule. And so what we've done is we've kind of handed over a lot of the responsibilities to my children, who have stood tall. My daughter Rachel got her degree in industrial operations, and so she's the operations manager. My other daughter Megan runs all of our marketing and sales and everything like that. They're doing a wonderful job. So it's allowed my wife and I to actually have a little more free time, but it's allowed me to pursue what I've just talked about, the ability now to give back to the community, or give back to people that I think would find this of interest. And so that's kind of where we're going with it now. Like I said, I've got a lot of knife designs. I still do all the custom knives. I still build all the prototypes for the factory and everything, and I'll do that as long as I can. Because honestly, and you've heard this before, Steve, but it's a quote that stuck with me and stuck to me like glue, because I identified so heavy with it. Was I was listening to the radio one time, and there was a good old boy on there, and he said, look, my daddy told me if I found a job I loved, I'd never work another day in my life. I haven't worked for 30 years. Let's just say that.
Well, Ernie, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, and wish you the best of luck. Is there anything that you want to wrap up with, and also any kind of final thoughts that you might have about where we're at as an industry?
Well, there is. The first thing I'd like to do is really thank everyone who's made it possible for me to quit work, so to speak, and do the thing that I love. Because, honest, it's the people that enjoy my knives and that want to buy the knives that I owe everything to. They are the ones who've provided me with the ability to make a living doing something that I love. So I can't thank my customers, my friends. Actually, they are my friends. There's such a personal relationship between us and our customers that my best friends are people that stood in front of me at one time and said, I'd like to buy a knife from you. And that's, I mean, it's grown to that. The other thing that I'd like to say, and this is not to end on a downbeat note, but we have to protect our ability to be able to have knives, to buy knives, to make knives, to have this wonderful opportunity to enjoy these cutting edge tools. And so I just want to make sure that everybody realizes we have to protect our rights. And it starts with the guns, and it's going to end with the knives. And if they ever get to the point where they take the guns away, the knives will be right behind it. So we have to stay ever vigilant on that, and we have to support all the organizations that protect those rights for us, because that'll allow us to pass these wonderful things on and down to our children and our grandchildren and keep this alive. Because I'll tell you what, I'm from northern Wisconsin. I grew up on a farm. Guns and knives were a part of the culture because you hunted, you fished, you needed a knife as a tool, and that's kind of that blood that runs through American veins, and I just hope they're never able to take that away from us.
Really good words, Ernie. I really thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's my pleasure always.
This is Steven with KnifeTV. Thank you.